I'm going to continue the series of the Daf Yomi. Today we are in Masechet Sotah. We are on page number 34, naturally in Hebrew, Lamed Daled. And it's actually interesting. We are going to see a page with full of stories from the Torah. And especially it's concentrating a mirror of Parshat Shelach in the book of Bamidbar. So what's going on? The Talmud is going to relate today over the story of the sin of the spies, the Meraglim, which naturally is translated in Hebrew. So friends, we're going to go on a tour back onto this. Israel, they were wandering around the desert for 40 years, going to different stations, accompanied by the clouds of glory, and also the Be'er Miriam and the man. The heavenly bread was being rained and showered down every single day for the whole of Israel to benefit and to sustain themselves. However, they knew they needed to enter Eretz Israel, to the land of Israel, and one of the things they had to do potentially is, especially if they're going to prepare for war, is to check out the land itself. And Moses was skeptical with in regards to this idea, and the idea was put to him from the heads of all the different tribes. It happened to be at the end, the heads of each tribe went together, 12 of them, to look at the land. And it was actually interesting, only 2 of the spies came back with a favorable report, and the other 10 came with an unfavorable report about the land. And it's interesting, it happened to be Joshua and Caleb, naturally. They actually brought in, they tried to silence the people, and other 10 leaders of the 10 different tribes gave an unfavorable report, a report that of the land which showed very much a slave mentality of, what they had. There's various different opinions why they did it. According to one opinion I remember hearing, was that they were all the heads of the tribes, and they knew that if they're going to come and enter the land of Israel, they are going to potentially lose their positions of power. So that is one opinion. Another opinion is the slave mentality there was because they were slaves naturally in Egypt. However, it was seen as a very severe transgression, this was, and there was a big yelling and a weeping when they came back and they gave this unfavorable report and showed lack of emunah from Hashem, of Hashem and everything else, which they've just seen all the awesome miracles, the Aseret that they brought. They received the Torah, the precious Torah at Mount Sinai, and so many different miracles, and yet, hence, they still did succumb. However, what's interesting is the attitude of Caleb. Caleb was one of the heads of one of the tribes, and along with Joshua, those 2 gave a favorable report. And in fact, Caleb actually teaches us a lesson in this whole story, because he was so scared and agitated by the threat that these other heads are posing to the whole of Israel, that he ran to the Marat HaMachpelah, to the cave of the patriarchs of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, where they are buried, and cried to them and beseech them that there's going to be a Yirat Shamayim. He's going to have the Yirat, a special fear from Hashem, that he's not going to come to transgress like these other people were doing. And what's interesting is a very powerful lesson that, people can pray for many things. Sometimes people pray to win the lottery or for all the physical things. But that's not necessarily the best type of prayer that is going to be the most effective for the person, individuals itself. The most effective potential prayer is when someone prays for spiritual things, for Yirat Hashem, for fear of heaven, for Hashem to protect, for all of those different kind of things. Those are the most maximized kind of prayers that happens, and that's very much represents Caleb. And he was actually saved at the end. He brought a favorable report, and in fact, he gave such a favorable report and was seen so reliable that he was appointed, once he entered Israel, to go back to spy again. At that time, he actually came and spied and entered the territory of Rachav. He actually went with Pinchas. It was them 2 that actually spied, and then gave the confidence for Israel to conquer their enemies and eventually enter the land of Israel. So it just shows that, first of all, we've got to have belief in ourselves and everything else. And one of the sins also about the spies is that they were seen, they had such a slave mentality that they saw everything so big, so they had such a lack of emunah in Hashem that they said they were like grasshoppers in the eyes of the inhabitants of Canaan at the time. And that was seen very much as a negative thing, because Hashem has already promised them God already promised them that they will enter that land and defeat their enemies. And they had that lack of emunah in Hashem, and that was another severe transgression. So guys, you know, when we're davening in our tefillot, one important thing that we should daven is for Yirat Shamayim and for Hashem to protect us. And if we can achieve that, we will stay away from the various transgressions and just keep the mitzvot of Torah. Guys, have an awesome day. Every day I'm doing videos here on the Talmud. Check out the channels and everything else. Everyday page. Today was Masechet Sotah, page number 34. And tomorrow it's going to be 35 of Masechet Sotah. Shavua Tov, and have an incredible day, guys. Bye.